Well, hi. If you guys haven't seen me before, I'm Hannah. I'm the Oasis Career Peer Educator. I am a fourth year business psychology and cognitive behavioral neuroscience double major, and excited to be graduating this year. Let's get to it. So if you guys can throw in the chat, how long do recruiters generally take when reviewing your resume? So it is a few seconds. It's an average of 6 seconds. So that tells you a lot about how quick you need to make your resume noticeable, because if not, then what are they going to read? General guidelines, especially for undergrad students, is try to limit it to 1 page. Once you get a little bit more experience, get into the career wherever that is for you, then we can start going a little bit longer than 1 page. But as a starting resume, we recommend 1. And then fonts, we recommend Arial or Times New Roman 10 to 12 because they're the most readable. Same thing with all of your essays. Those are the ones they recommend just because it's easy to read. If you are doing a creative resume, I'm not going over those as much today. These are more STEM-based, business-based resumes. But if you were doing a creative resume, you can definitely play with the fonts a little bit more. And then structure-wise, neat, well-organized. And then experiences are in reverse chronological order. So what you're doing now is at the top, and what you did in high school is going to be closer to the bottom. Sections of a resume. Your first is going to be your header. So that is your name, your address, phone number, your UCSD email address, or your personal email address, depending on what you're going to continue using currently and again after graduation. You can also include your city and then your zip code and your LinkedIn profile. Those are all completely up to you. If you're gonna do like city, state, zip code, Daniela, do you wanna type it in the chat or do you wanna say it out loud? Whatever's good for you.
I'll say really quickly. So do we actually have to put the full address? Is it okay to just put the city and zip code?
I only recommend putting city and zip code. I don't like putting my full address. I don't want everybody to know that information. And when you're applying to jobs, you're usually applying to multiple. So I recommend only putting city and state, and sometimes your zip code. Sometimes you don't even have to put your zip code. Just put city, state, like La Jolla, okay, California, San Diego, California, if you're from the Bay Area. And then another rule of thumb with that is you're allowed to put wherever you can establish residence. So if you're going to school at UCSD, but you're from, I'm in Florida right now, so Florida, then you can put wherever you want to apply to the job, whether that's in Florida or whether that's at UCSD. So you can play with it, but excuse me, make sure the one you're applying to is the one that is, the job you're applying should have, you should put the city, state that's closest to the job. Okay, and then just as a rule of thumb, your name should be the biggest thing on your page because that's what you want them to remember in that 6 seconds that they're looking. All right, moving on to your summary of qualifications. Your summary of qualifications is literally just what it sounds like. You will be summarizing the things that make you qualified for the position you're applying to. This should change for every resume that you turn in for a job. And that's something that a lot of people don't like doing, including myself. I get a little lazy sometimes, so I try to make it really basic. It's better if it's more specific. One thing that I see quite often is people will put, I have experience reviewing and analyzing. Rather than putting the I have, try to do it like this example right here, where it just says experience reviewing and analyzing, presenting, all of those things, but without the I and my's. So we're gonna try to, I guess, impersonalize this a little bit. Just put in those keywords. Another great tip is try to pull keywords from your job description. So whatever you're applying to, if it says analyzing, then you want to put that word in your summary of qualifications because it's going to be close to the top. If it's going through a resume generator or a resume, there's like resume programs that read over resumes so people don't have to. So you want those keywords in there. And then it shouldn't really be more than 3 to 4 lines. Lines, not sentences. So if you have 2 sentences that are pretty long and take up 4 lines, then keep it at the 4 lines because we want to still have space for all of your relevant experiences. I already said everything else on there. Okay, so moving on, right below that, we have a little bit of a skills section here, which isn't necessarily outlined as a skills section, but how they have Quicken, QuickBooks, TurboTax, Word. That's all part of their summary of qualifications on this example. You can do it either way. I have a separate skills section on mine. All of the ones that they have here are considered hard skills. So these are things that you can have a certification in, or you have to take lessons in to know how to use them. Another example, well, Word and Excel and PowerPoint, those ones are the most common used skills in a skills section on a resume. And I've had people, the Career Center, recommend that we don't even put them anymore because so many people put them. But the thing is, on LinkedIn, if you have one, you can take tests on how to use Word and PowerPoint and Excel, and you will be amazed how much you don't know about these programs, because I failed PowerPoint and I thought I knew PowerPoint like the back of my hand. So if you can't pass the LinkedIn test, do not put them on your resume. Only put them if you actually know how to use them. But other than that, you can also put all of your coding languages here. If you're multilingual, bilingual, all of that should go in a little bit of a skills section like they have laid out here. Coding languages include MATLAB, R, C++. I really don't, Java. I don't think I know more than that because I really don't like coding. It's traumatic for me. So, and then the other side of a skills section is considered soft skills. I'm sorry that they don't have like that listed on the edge here. But soft skills would be your interpersonal communication skills or interpersonal relationship skills or your leadership skills or organization, all the things that come kind of inherently to some people, whereas hard skills are things that no matter who you are, you have to learn it in one way or another. You can probably teach yourself it, but you have to learn it. Whereas leadership, it's learned, but it's kind of like you can decide who's a leader just by an interaction with them. You can't really decide if I'm going to know how to code Java just by interacting with me. And I don't, so don't ask. Okay, do we have any more questions at this point? If you guys end up having questions, just raise your hand like Daniela did, and I'll continue calling on you throughout. But we're going to get to the meat of your resume right now. So, well, education first and then relevant experience. Education's super important, but it's a very small section of your resume. Education for right now, I always recommend leaving it at the top. But as soon as you get to your senior year, which some of you probably are, we can probably move that underneath your relevant experience if you want to. If you like the way it looks having education closer to the top, then great. It's your resume, your formatting. Just you want specific information, and that's what I'm here to tell you about. So I always say leave education near the top while you're in school because they need to see that you are going through school, so they don't try to hire you for a 40-hour-a-week position. Because as much as I would love for you guys to work 40 hours a week and do 60 hours a week in school, I don't want you to. You might be able to be a superhuman like that, but enjoy your school life while you can. Okay, so education, of course, you're going to have the title of your school, University of California, San Diego, and then Bachelor of Science or Bachelor of Art, and then whatever your major is. For GPA, on this example resume, they have 3.5 plus. If you have a 3.0 and you're in a humanities or business or anything like that, that's great, honestly. If you're in engineering and you have a 3.5, I've had a lot of engineers say they don't want to put that. I don't understand that because that's amazing to me because engineering is scary, but it's a very competitive field. And so if they don't have a 3.8 or 3.9, they don't want to put it on there a lot of the time. If you are proud of your GPA in any way, shape, or form, which you should be because college is hard, then put it on there. Be proud of it. Show it off. And then your graduation date and all of that. None of you guys have graduated yet. So make sure you either have anticipated or expected before your month. Because if you try to put like September 2017 to June 2021, they're probably not going to look at the date and they're going to think you already graduated. So make sure you put anticipated or expected in front of that to make sure they see that you have not graduated yet. All right, getting into that relevant experience. There are a few examples here. So you have work experiences, you have those class projects you've done, you've got volunteer experiences, you've got any internships you've done. So if you can get, even like on-campus orgs, if you've ever had a leadership experience through an on-campus org or even outside of campus stuff where you were just a leader of something, then that can all be in your relevant experience sections. So going through that, there's a lot of different resume examples out there. I'm gonna highlight this one in one really good way is it's operations assistant is bolded and then the capital management isn't, because what's really important about your resume is you, not the company you worked for. So the only exceptions to this would be like a Big Five or a technology company or anything that is really super well known. So if you have already worked at Google and Intel and Qualcomm, you might want to highlight those because that's freaking amazing. But if you have worked small jobs here and there, if I've worked for Oasis and Kohl's and Triton Mobility forever ago, nobody really knows what those are. Kohl's people know, but otherwise people don't really know them, so they don't need to be highlighted. What's important is what position I did. What did I bring to that role? And then, of course, make sure you're putting the city and state. And then, like we said earlier, reverse chronological order. For these bullet points, like I said, this is getting into the more dense part of your resume. We're going to follow something called APR format. So if you're taking notes, A stands for action, P is for project, and R is for results. The really, really important part of that is that R. So going back to those bullet points, this is action plus project equals results for APR format. So your action word is going to be some of those keywords that you saw in that job description. So do they want somebody who's really organized? Well, maybe you planned an event. So planned, coordinated, analyzed. There are thousands of words that you can use for your action word, and there are lists that you can go through. I highly recommend using the lists because words like analyzed, planned, coordinated, those ones come to mind first a lot of the time, but that also means they come to mind first for everybody else a lot of the time, and they're the highest used words on resumes. So if there's collaborated, like any of these words that are you can think of, like try to check a list and see if there's another word that means the same thing that might not be the first word to come up. The only reason I would say not to do that is, like I said, if it's in the job description, then use the exact wording in the job description somewhere on your resume so that it highlights keywords. So planned, coordinated, whatever your action verb is, and then what was your project? So this person planned a fundraising event for 500 people. We highly recommend using numbers in your project if you can. So whether you, like right now, I could say put on a workshop for, or facilitated a workshop because that sounds better, facilitated a workshop for 8 students, something along those lines. If you put those numbers in there, it brings their attention to the numbers because it's a break in the letters. And so they might actually read that sentence because they're like, oh, wait, 500, wow. Or even if you have a dollar sign on there, like the $3,000 donation, dollar signs grab people's attention no matter what. Everybody likes looking at money stuff sometimes, depending on the context. When it comes to good things, like raising money for the Red Cross. So that result is resulting in $3,000 donation to the Red Cross. Or the one below it, it's to design. So when I'm going over people's resumes, I always add, what was your why? That's always what I'm asking is, why did you do this? What was the contribution you gave? So I usually say add to or in order to at the end of your sentence. This also makes you result oriented on your resume. And this causes your resume to not be a list of responsibilities like sweeping, janitorial services, folding clothes. Like, you're not just putting that, you're showing why did you do that? What impact did you have on the company or on society through this position? And that's really going to be what makes your resume kind of next level compared to a lot of other resumes out there. Okay. Let me see where I was at. Skills and qualifications. Honors and activities, if you guys didn't have any more questions. Oh, one more thing on the bullet points. Yes, use APR format. Also, they recommend 3 to 5 bullet points for your most relevant experiences. And then the ones that are a little bit older that might not be as relevant, you can go down to 2. Okay. And then the next thing would be honors and activities. Some of these you can include as leadership experience or professional development experience, any of those types of things. But like, this person has swim team, Delta Sigma. So if you're in a sorority, if you're in a club, I'm part of Women in Business, so that's in my honors and activities section. You could do honors and awards as well, or awards and activities, whatever wording you think sounds the best. It's your resume. If you just wanted to put activities instead of honors, I think you're an honorable person though, so you should keep honors or awards in there because they're impressive. So with that, having honors and awards, do you have provost honors at all while you're here? If you don't know where to find that, if you go on your academic history, it'll show you what quarters you got provost honors. Other things would be, you guys are a part of OTC, the Transfer to Career Program. So that is a membership that you're involved in, or an activity, because that's why you're here. The other ones are even just being a part of OASIS. That's a membership. If you have any scholarships, every scholarship you have counts as an award or an honor. So I got a scholarship from Ronald McDonald House Charities. So I have a Ronald McDonald House Scholar in my awards section on my resume. And if you have any certifications, there's some internships I know that go on campus that you have to get your licensing for. So if you have any certification, CPR certification, if that's relevant to what you're trying to do, put it on there. I think it could be relevant in any situation because CPR is kind of emergency, but some jobs may be like, why did you tell me this? If you have, like, the internship I was talking about makes you get your insurance license. So if you have your insurance license, if you're an EMT, any of those things, make sure that's on there. It could go in your honors and activities section, or it can go somewhere else if it's like part of your experiences. Or you could even have, if you have a lot of random certifications, you could have a certification section on your resume as well. So this is what we just went through. There we go. That's my very, very, very quick overview, and it still wasn't that quick, of a resume. Do you guys have any questions right now? No?
I have a question.
Let me, go ahead.
Do you have an opinion on 1-column versus 2-column resumes?
The format I just showed you is what is typically recommended for business or STEM related things. When I see 2-column resumes, it's usually because it's a creative resume. And creative resumes are for, when I say business, I mean business like finance type things or economics, anything like that. But if you're going for a marketing position or you're going for something that's a little bit more artistic or lax, then that's when I've seen 2-column resumes the most often, just because it gives you a little bit more design freedom. So I would say for like strictly professional resumes to try to keep that one column all the way down.
Okay, thank you.
Of course. Okay. Before I share my screen again, was there another question anywhere? Okay. Okay, so in the chat, I just threw in the Triton Career Guide. This is such an amazing tool. I use it almost every day for work and coaching people on how to create their resumes or how to network. There's just so much in here that if you just flip through it, and you'll find a lot of information that you didn't know. You don't have to press on it right now because I'm going to share it on my screen anyway, but I do want you guys to have the link just so that you can't say I didn't give you anything. Just kidding. So that you guys have it for the future. This is the Triton Career Guide. This is the 2019 version. I don't know if they've updated it yet, but it's still pretty amazing. So that is our beautiful career center that we don't get to see that often anymore. If you guys do get to see it, you're lucky. If not, definitely go see it in the future because they're all amazing over there. But we're going to be going over the cover letter now. And cover letters are difficult. So just right off the bat, even myself, I haven't written a lot of cover letters because as soon as a job says they need a cover letter, I'm like, I don't want to do that. So, but the 2 jobs that I've had on campus did require a cover letter. So I've done it. I just don't like doing them. But the thing that I see when I'm going over people's cover letter the most is that it's really dry. It's really not personable. So I caution you to avoid that by putting in a little bit more of your personality. So this one just starts off, Dear Jane Doe. And then I am submitting my resume for blank, blank, and blank. That's going to look like every other cover letter out there because everybody does almost the exact same thing. And it starts off just like that, which is good in some cases. Like if it's a very, very strict and they like gave you an outline or something. But I just helped my roommate start a cover letter and I told her to put, hi. You might want to say hi or hello instead of just jumping straight to your point. Because if not, then they're just like, okay, well, she's submitting a resume. Cool. Like, so I had her started off with to whom it may regard or to whom it may concern. Hi, I hope you and your family are doing well, or I hope you're doing well. Just because with everything going on in the world, it's nice to have good hopes for people, right? Plus that also is conducive with who she is as a person, and having a caring personality was a very big thing for her job description. So just having something to start off with that shows who you are is a great way to start. That won't be great for every single position. If some of them are super strict, then following this format exactly could be a good idea for you. But like I said, I caution you, the words you use, the grammar you use in your cover letter, make it exciting. Make it to who you are as a person. So I think I was talking with one of my friends who's a theater major about her cover letter. And when you think of a theater major, you think of bubbly and very out there and sprightly. And they're just they have so much personality because that's how theater people are. And when I read her cover letter, I was sad because I was like, I could go hand this to literally any theater person and they would be able to turn this in. It was like, you just created the best generic cover letter for theater people. And I was like, that's not what I want from you. I want to know who you are, because your cover letter is really your chance to show the company who you are rather than just being your resume. This gives them a little bit of your personality before the interview. So with that, changing it like I am submitting my resume in consideration for, I'm super excited to have the opportunity to submit my resume for this position. So being excited, showing that you're really happy, really enthusiastic about this position. Obviously, the cover letter that I'm using as an example, which is in your career guide, is to an accounting group. So they might not want somebody who's so excited all the time, but maybe they do. Who knows? Another thing is like when you state your background. So state why you're a strong candidate. Your background should have information, but it should still have that personality as well. So this says, given my background in accounting and extensive leadership experience, I believe this position is a strong match for my skills and career interests. I honestly wish I could write a cover letter for them because this is a very generic one again. This one is supposed to be generic though, because it's an example for everybody to use. But what is your background in accounting? Like, given my 2-year background in accounting, given my really fun leadership skills or leadership experiences. So like try to describe them a little bit more rather than it just being, I've had a lot of experience, because that makes it kind of boring and generic, whereas we want to make this personal. I've developed a keen interest in public accounting while working towards an undergraduate degree at Rady School of Management. What made you develop that keen interest in public accounting? Was it one of the professors? If so, then say, through my class with Professor Blank, I developed a keen interest. So it just makes it a little bit more personal so that they can see, oh, this person took this person's class. If you're giving it to somebody who is a, what is it called? Alumni. If you're giving it to somebody who's an alumni as your recruiter, then they might know that professor, and that gives you another point to network on. This says, my experience as president of the Undergrad Accounting Society has provided me with the opportunity to successfully lead an organization of more than 100 students. That's great, but I guarantee you that exact same sentence is on the resume for this person. And like I said, this is a fake cover letter, so it's okay to be generic, but use a word to describe your experience. So instead of it just being my experience as, put my, how many years was your experience, or my exciting experience as, like just add a word in there to spice it up a little bit. Because if it's not showing your personality, then your cover letter is not doing too much other than reading over your resume again, which is great because it gets you a little bit more than that 6 seconds that the recruiters look over it. But if you're still just a person on a piece of paper, then you're not giving them much more to look at, right? Is my screen still sharing?
Yes.
Okay, that's weird because it keeps like flashing for me. Okay. Are there any questions on cover letters right now? Okay. I will say this is a really good, oh, go ahead, Danae.
Sorry, yeah, there's like a little lag in between like the context. Sorry if it sounds like I'm interrupting. Yeah, I just had a question for the cover letter because me too. I feel like I've been kind of like I've always dread cover letters because obviously you have to get more into it, right? And like talk about details and why you're excited about it. But if you're applying somewhere and they only like asking for the resume, would it be okay to send both in a way to kind of just be like, like even you kind of going the extra mile? What do you think about that? Is that something that people do or no?
Oh yeah, for sure. So it also depends how you send in your resume. If you're emailing your resume into somebody as a way to apply to the job, most definitely include a cover letter with it as the email body. Don't include your cover letter as a separate document in that case. If you are doing it like through Handshake or through anything, through like a company page where they don't require a resume, but they have an additional materials section, definitely include a cover letter if it's a job that you're super interested in and want to put in that time and effort. Or if you're just a senior student who's really eager to get a job, both great ways to do it. Just putting in that cover letter, like you said, is showing that you're going the extra mile, but it also shows them a little bit more of your personality. And that's really what I want to emphasize for the cover letter, because you don't want this to be dry. You don't want it to be a boring read for them, right? Okay, Christine, what's your question?
I was wondering, like, you were applying for like different jobs, right? So like if you're going to different companies, would you change up your cover letter every time, or would you just keep the same?
Yes.
Okay, just
You
different.
can keep the same formatting.
Hmm.
Sorry, go ahead.
Oh no, no, you're good.
Okay, so you can keep the same formatting, but your qualifications for each job, unless you're applying to the same type of job for each thing, you're probably going to want to change up your qualifications. Of course, you're going to change up the name of the position and the group. But generally, after you outline your relevant experience in the middle, then when you restate your qualification and interest, your interest should include fun facts about the company.
Oh, okay.
So with that, just to show that you did a little bit of research and show that, yeah, you are interested and you know something about the company. So you will be changing up portions of this, not the whole thing every single time, depending on the position. Like I said, if this person was only applying to tax intern positions, they could just change the name and the fun facts and send it in to every single one of them. I don't recommend doing that, but because I don't want you to typo and miss something, I recommend writing a new one every time.
Oh, thank you.
Of course. So with the interest, you can say, I was inspired by your company's ability to help 57 families in need in the local San Diego area. That's a completely random fun fact, but it's just fun facts like that that you should know about the company. Or I was excited to learn that I could become a part of a team that is a Fortune 100 company. Fun facts like that. Like that's a super easy fact to find out, but it's something that shows, okay, so she does know something about our company. And then, of course, you restate really quickly and go on.
I have a question. If an employer asks for a CV, that's just basically an extended version of the education section on the resume?
Oh, that's an interesting way to put it. Yes. Yeah, I would say very close to it. So instead of focusing so much on your relevant experiences, you're going to be focusing more on your educational experiences rather than work or volunteer. So that's on CVs, there's a heavier focus on like what research projects you did, what publications you helped research for, or if you have any that have been published with your name on it, that's amazing. So it's really just focusing on academic accomplishment rather than your career accomplishments.
I see. And it would be shorter than a resume typically?
As your starting one, I would say no, because it should still be about one page.
Okay. Thank you.
And then on the link that I sent you, there is a little bit about CV. Let me share my screen again really quick. So there is a little bit where it compares CV to resume, and you can look at that. It's not super in depth. On Handshake, there's also a pre-health Triton Career Guide that's brand new and super updated, and it's with help from Career Center employees and students. So I think that's a really great resource if you want to look into that one. They might have a little bit more on CVs. Okay. Any more questions?
Hi, yes, I have a quick question regarding like resume templates.
Yeah.
Are there any recommended templates or places that we can like use to make one, you know?
Yeah. So this is a really common question, and the best answer I can give you is to not use a template. There are good templates out there. So in the career guide that I linked for you guys, that's a really good one to go based off of. It's obviously not a template, so you can't just fill it in. But it is a good formatting that you can base yours off of. The PowerPoint I showed you as well, same thing. That was a good format. Let me see if I can pull it up really quickly. UC Berkeley, their career center has really good sample resumes. So I'm going to link that for you guys here too. Just don't tell our career center. Just kidding. They showed us this in training. Oops, it just gave you the Google search and not the actual page. The second one. So they have a bunch of sample resumes and theirs are broken down into what job you're going for. So if it's STEM related, if you're an engineering junior, so they have a really good breakdown of resumes. But when it comes to templates, like using Google Docs or anything like that, look for the one if you have to use a template. If you're like on a time crunch and can't really create your own, look for the one that takes up the most space. So a lot of them have like a column of just white with like a few words. Don't use those ones because unless you don't have that much to put on your resume, but I think we can fill up. If you were to work with me or somebody at the Career Center, we'd try to fill up your page as much as possible. Just because the white space makes part of the page look really busy and then the rest is just blank. And so usually what you're trying to do on your resume is get as much information as possible about you on that page. So your goal should be to have as little white space as possible.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, of course.
Definitely, I think that's one thing I want to highlight. You know, Hannah's going to be a point of contact for you all. So definitely, like, feel free to reach out to her at any moment.
Thank you, everyone. Have a good day.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank you.